Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with Haley Carbajal, a professional of the year, and she's the creator of 5 Steps to Alignment. That's 5steps2alignment.com/R/A. We're going to talk today more about the work she has and, of course, this gift that she has that she's sharing with the world and helping people living their true purpose. How are you today?
I am doing absolutely brilliant today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful day here in New York, a little chilly, but I love when the sun's shining. And where are you?
Yeah, Flagstaff. We actually just had a huge snowfall.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful to have you back, and your energy clearly is apparent. For new time listeners, tell us a little bit about the type of work you do.
Yeah. I help spiritually awakened people overcome any type of fear, stagnation, or lack of direction in their life so that they can vibrationally align to their higher calling and their soul's purpose.
Beautiful. And the work you're doing, we've talked about manifestation. That isn't the law of attraction, right? You're helping people break bad habits, live their purpose, and so much more. So, how can we contact you? Let's start there.
5stepstoalignment.com is the best way to reach me.
Perfect. And what did you have in mind for your audience today?
Ooh, well, I would really love to talk about feeling safe and putting an end to the past, right? So that we can start anew.
Which
I
a
would
lot
love
of
to.
people have trouble doing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, as well, it's actually very normal. It's very normal. Part of the reason why is because the past, we learned something from it, right? There's valuable wisdom and experience there. And so we feel like we must hold on to that, even emotionally, to make sure that we don't recreate the past, to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes. However, it's also that energy that's pulling us back, right? So, like, if we take my hands, right? These two hands are taking up, they can't take up the same amount of space, right? They have to take up separate parts of space in space, right? So if you're holding on to the past, just like if you think about your auric field or your Taurus field, it's holding all of that energy from the past, and so therefore nothing else can come in, similar to my hands, right? There's no space for anything to come through. So we must release the past in order for that new to come forward. So the trick here is being able to release the past, but really just more of the emotional triggers and the emotional baggage and weight of it, while retaining the intelligence and wisdom that came forward, so that we can fully embrace the new and move through and into the future intelligently.
Now, how are you guiding people down this path? Because it's hard to let go of the past and, yeah, leave that behind. What are some of the steps we have to do? We have to, first of all, we have to be ready, right? How do we know if we're ready or we're scared about not knowing?
Yeah. Well, I love that question, Jill. Thank you. We do have to be ready. And sometimes it gets to a point where like we're just on our knees and we are waving the white flag. Sometimes it gets to that point where it's just like, there's nothing left to do but let go. Like there's nothing left to do but let go. And it is in that moment, even though you feel like you're completely broken and you feel like you are almost like completely severed and split in half, that is the exact moment when you are really open to receiving the new direction, the new clarity, right? So, I don't know why it has to be this way, but it is true that we must endure sometimes, not all the time, but we always endure the most, like, in our breakdowns, in the most severe
The
pain,
pain
in the
and the
most
hurt. Yep.
severe, yep, in the most severe hardship is where we actually find our growth. It's not in our happiness and our bliss and our joy when things are working out effortlessly in our life. There's no there's no growth there, right? We should have gratitude and acceptance for being there. But yeah, it starts off with being ready to change your life, being ready to let go of the past, knowing that the past is the thing that's holding you back.
And if we know we're ready, the next step is calling you.
Well, that's what I would recommend, but really any type of mentor. Of course, I would recommend myself, but I'm not going to resonate with everybody, right? So if they leave with a message that if you're really ready to change your life and let go of the past and heal from it so it no longer controls your decision making moving forward, then go out and see a mentor, see somebody who has walked the path before you, can authentically speak to what you're going through and helping you out.
And now the process to break through all this, it's not an easy one. There's some work that goes, into it. And could you share some examples of, how the process works and some of the people you work with breaking this pattern in a sense?
Yeah. So the first client that comes to mind, his name was Jordan, and he really, there was something that happened to him as an infant that I would like to keep confidentiality, but as an infant that was very traumatic for him, and he could never really move forward. And the patterns that developed because of this trauma as an infant was he had to be the savior. He had to sacrifice himself in order to make other people happy. He had to overextend himself even though he was completely burnt out, right? And so we did a very specific energy healing, essentially inner child healing, but it was a lot deeper than that. And ever since then, he has not had any issues with overextending himself. He has not had any issues actually conveying his truth and speaking his truth, but in a way where it's coming from a place of just honoring oneself and not necessarily having to prove a point, because there's a difference between the two. And he actually feels free. There's no longer this trauma response from that moment as an infant. And I mean, you can actually hear about it on my YouTube channel. His interview is on my YouTube channel. Um, but yeah, and he no longer feels like he has to be the knight in shining armor. He's not here to save people. They have to save themselves. He's here to facilitate, but he's no longer feeling that sense of obligation that was so draining.
Wow. And by the way, how do we find your YouTube channel?
5 Steps to Alignment Official.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I apologize, the website was wrong here on my page. So it's making sure I'm in the right spot. It's 5stepstoalignment.com. That's your regular website. From there, of course, we can find out more about these, 5 steps and a lot more. Also, want to point out, we've talked in the past, and there's always amazing client success stories that that your people, your clients have said about you and the work you do. And just to back up a bit for new time listeners, tell us a little bit about your gift, what you do, and your passion for helping people the way you do.
Yeah, so I am a multi-dimensional communicator, medium, and seer. So I connect to the highest sources of light and consciousness. And through that, I can perceive both psychological patterns and behavioral patterns in an individual and know exactly the source from which it stems and receive the information as to how to shift it. So that's what I do.
Like I was reading one of the client stories, and last time, and I didn't get to talk about all of them. Obviously, there's a lot, but someone in particular who lost weight. I mean, that's something that you saw, you helped with, right? I don't know if it was a gentleman or a female, but you worked with them and they lost weight just by talking to you and
Yeah,
getting.
because yeah, weight is actually a form of protection. It's a form of fear, and it's also holding on to weight is holding on to energy and emotional baggage. It's just manifested in a physical form. It's also, if I may be so bold, it's also a form of lack of self-love because we're not taking care of ourselves and we're
Hmm.
escaping through food, right? And so by working with me, we worked on and we talked about those deep-seated roots that kept those behaviors of overeating and not taking care of oneself alive, and redirected those in a very positive, organic way where it felt natural for him to follow through on diets. It felt natural for him to do the healing work. It felt natural for him to participate in exercising.
Well, we appreciate it. And again, 5stepstoalignment.com. Haley is helping so many. I'm going to actually pull up something. Hold on. I'm on your website now. I'm going to fill. There's one also that I saw last week that I wanted to ask you about, but I'll figure that out in the meantime. Let you continue the conversation. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I think that's really the most important thing, right? Is natural and organic. So if you follow me on YouTube or on Instagram or Facebook or whatever have you, you know that I always say that it's not about the strategy because it's not. It's about who you are being while you do it. Because we can come in with an intention of something, like let's say just losing weight for an example, but if it's coming from a place of shame, or if it's coming from a place of blame, or it's coming from a place of self-hate, that's no matter what exercises you do, no matter what diet you follow, number one, you're going to suffer through it because it's for the wrong reasons, and number two, the what you're vibrating ultimately is that self-hate, that self-shame, and that's going to influence the results that you get. So if you do it's not about the strategy, it's about who you're being while you do it. So if you decide, like that moment of surrender that we just talked about, where it's like, I'm done, I must release the past, I have to let it go, then you can find a very loving, nurturing, motivating, naturally motivating way. And then you will automatically, because you're broken open and you are that beacon of receptivity of information, then it gives you the opportunity to actually find diets that will work for you, to actually find exercises that you may actually genuinely like and enjoy. So it's not even about what strategies you are doing, because doing gets us nowhere. It's about what feels in alignment and brings about our joy, our happiness, our natural motivation that inspires us and invokes something in us that is like this compelling desire to continue moving forward.
Beautiful. And by the way, let's remind everyone how we can contact you. 5stepstoalignment.com. You're active on all social media platforms. Are you still doing the Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives too?
Yes, always.
Okay. How often? When can we find you on live? What is your schedule? Is it vary or?
I try to keep it as tight as possible. So on my private Facebook group, Light Beings Seeking Vibrational Alignment, that's every Monday at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And then on Instagram, it's around 3:30 Pacific Standard Time every Thursday.
And then you're also on the Patreon too, right?
Yes, I do that. That is group spiritual mentorship and coaching for less than a Netflix subscription.
All right. What else did you want to uncover for us today? Haley, by the way, just curious, when did you start using your gifts to helping people? What were you doing before this became like your business?
Yeah, so actually growing up all the way up until probably 19, 20, 21, I wanted to be a famous actress. That's what I wanted to do. Very, very good at it, very natural on stage, all of those things. And I started off as a massage therapist because I thought I could make my own schedule as a massage therapist while I go for auditions and taping and things like that, right? And then got disrupted by a relationship, right? Disrupted, quote unquote. It was
Yeah.
actually divine. Got disrupted by a relationship, and then found myself falling in love with the energy healing, psychic mediumship, and
Wow.
massage therapy process. Yeah. And so then it almost was like all the dots connected, especially now being, a public figure, being a spiritual mentor and coach. It's like, of course, at that time, I wanted to be an actress because it was the impact, it was the inspiring that you get to invoke in other people. It was the almost like you give them a brief moment of relief from their life, right? And actually, I'm so glad I didn't go the actress route for thousands of reasons, because I really found my home here in the spiritual community. But I really feel like the calling called me, like the calling found me rather than me going and chasing it. It just kind of landed in my lap.
Oh, that was one of your quotes. You said, if you chase money, you will forever be running. However, if you
Mhm.
change your purpose, money will chase you.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So true. Wow.
It is.
Ah, and you continue, you wake up every day. What is your schedule like? I mean, how do you in the world, if you're so intuitive and so empathetic to those around you, is there time for Haley? Is there time for you?
Always. There's always time. So because I am a leader, because I hold other people's lives in my hands, it is my absolute responsibility to show up as my best self, right? So I have a morning routine. I'm waking up at like 4, without getting too granular. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning,
Wow.
moving my body somehow. And as I'm moving my body, I am listening to people that talk about what I want and where I'm going. A lot of who I listen to right now is Ed Milet. He's a huge source of inspiration for me. Um, and so I'm conditioning my body, right, through physical movement, and I'm conditioning my mind for what I want and where I want to go. And then after that, after I move my body, get my workout in, I do a brief gratitude practice because gratitude makes you an amplifier. Plus, if you can't think beyond what you feel, then you're not open to receiving or perceiving the miracles in your life. So, when you're in a state of gratitude, your reticular activating system can take a look at all of the miracles that are around you, right? So, then after that, I wash up, and actually, my makeup and my hair is like my ritual. It's like putting on my superwoman cape. It really is. And so listening to music and getting ready for the day so that I can show up in a peak state as my best self. And so that's actually a lot what I talk about with clients because a lot of people just roll out of bed in the morning, and because they're expecting the previous day, this day to look like the previous day, they're not feeling inspired or motivated to take care of themselves because it's like this is just a redundant mundane life. And I tell them how important and essential it is to have a morning routine that sets your day up for success. And that's actually a lot about what I talk about with my clients is that conditioning process. I am in love with talking about the conditioning process because that is this true separator from those who do get what they want and those who don't.
Beautiful. Thank you for inspiring me. All right, getting up, you're right, putting on that morning routine. And sometimes the makeup and the hair makes you feel good. It's your superpower. It does. It does. I agree. During COVID, I mean, I don't know how you felt, but it was so depressing for everyone and not getting in that motion, getting up, looking good, feeling good, dressing up. It just, those little things do mean a lot.
And it's not even about the makeup because I mean you're gorgeous even without it, right? And I can walk out of the house without any makeup on me, right? It's not even about the makeup because it's not even about the strategy. It is about the way that you are taking time for yourself and doing something creative while you do it.
Yep.
That is what's activating. That is what is inspiring and gets you into that peak state.
Well, thank you for sharing this. And if you do want to reach out, don't forget, Haley, you accept first timers, right? To give you a call to go over what they would need. It's a discovery call, do you call it?
Yeah, I call it a starlight call
That's it. Thank
because
you so much. I knew it was
yeah,
something. All right. And what else did you have in mind for us today?
well, just speaking to getting and taking the time to take care of yourself, right? I think that, most of us, and this is actually something that my clients struggle with too, because naturally empathic, naturally enlightened people want to give to alleviate the pain of others, right? But the thing is that we don't realize that we're only giving a fraction of ourselves. We're only giving a fraction of who we could be to other people, which is actually more hurtful and detrimental than we realize, right? So, for example, one of the clients that I have is a mom, and she's always doing for her kids, doing for her kids, doing for her kids, right? And she doesn't realize that she could be a little bit shorter with them, her patience could be a little bit shorter with them, her tone of voice could be a little bit more like sharper than it usually is, and she's like, but I still have to take care of them, I still have to take care of them. And I said, yes, you do, but if you are not taking care of yourself, they are only getting a fraction of who you could be as a mom. And is it that fair to them? No. So it is actually for your kids that you do take care of yourself. Because also, Ed Milet says this absolutely brilliant thing. And he says, a very subtle form of neglect with your kids is not being your best self, not reaching for your highest dreams, for your highest achievements. And that is because your kids will not do as you say, they do as you do. Right. And so if you are living as a fraction of who you could be, if you are not stretching yourself, if you are escaping through TV, if you are escaping through food or other mediums, then your kids are going to follow that unconsciously, unknowingly. And so I also think it is my personal responsibility as a mother, not only to take care of myself, but to continuously be stretching myself and chasing my dreams and fulfilling my purpose, because that gives my kids permission to go out there and live in their highest potential as well.
That resonates for sure. My kids are 7 and 9, and boy, there's times when I look at them and I said, why are they acting this way? And I'm like, this is what I do. This is how I say it. This is how I get frustrated, how I express it. And you're right. They do as you do, right? They don't listen to what you say. How did you say it? They
They
do.
don't do as you say, they do as you do.
Ah, oh yeah, I need some learning in this department for sure. I think all of us parents can. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and other mothers or other fathers who feel that way, even though the reason why I can speak about it so eloquently is because this is a practice I apply to myself. So I've seen myself fail. I've seen myself lose my temper with my kids. I've seen myself not take care of myself and be burnt out and feel like I can't give them anything more. Right? So if anybody was feeling maybe hurt or triggered by that, I want you to know it's okay. You don't know what you don't know. But now that you do know, it is your responsibility, right? And don't blame yourself. Like, don't shame yourself for the mistakes that you made, because you're literally like poking holes in your gas tank. You might be filling it up with all the good stuff, reading all about this conscious parenting and reading all about this inner work and all this shadow work and all this stuff. But none of that matters truly if you're self inflicting blame and shame and negative self-talk. You're poking holes in the gas tank. You keep filling up the gas tank, but it's just going to keep going out, right? Have forgiveness. You didn't know. It's okay. We're human. We all make mistakes. And it's actually a gift that our children are our mirrors. We learn more from them than they will ever learn from us, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so, just we want to take what we're doing seriously always, but we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. Where is that fun? Where is that play? Where is that curiosity? Like, oh my gosh, I just lost it on my kids. Where did that come from? right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that,
Been there.
what is that saying about where I'm not fulfilled? And then that is a gift because that gives you the opportunity and the clarity to go out there and fill that need that you require.
To
It's
change it.
never a
Yeah.
bad thing.
Wow. You really have a way with words and making people feel at ease and calm and understanding things, right? Because we're always hard on ourselves, especially as parents when it comes to these type of things. But there's a reason for everything, right? And change
Absolutely.
is possible.
Yep. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And, thank you so much for saying that. I really thank you.
Thank you. You're the one that's making me feel this way to say those things. And we're almost out of time. We have a minute and a half left. I'm so sorry, Haley.
That's
How did you
okay.
want to leave off? I know I always have to cut you off.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. Everybody is going to receive what they are meant to receive today. And so if you were curious about more of my work, follow me on all of those social medias. I'm LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of them. My website is 5stepstoalignment.com. If you are a newbie and just getting introduced to my work, I do recommend the Patreon because you get a taste of what I do. You get a taste of
Perfect.
how I help you. And then if you wanted to work more one-to-one, then we can have a conversation. But I would definitely recommend the Patreon first.
Perfect. And how do we find you again?
5stepstoalignment.com.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And your YouTube channel again, how do we get there?
Yep, 5 Steps to Alignment official.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm, and hopefully the sun will come out near you soon. Is it already out? Just cold.
No, overcast
Oh,
completely.
all right.
Last 2
Well,
days.
all right, good. Well, hopefully soon. Have a great day, Haley. Thank you so much for being here again. Check her out all over social media as well. And her Facebook Lives are hot. And boy, oh boy, she gets a lot of great responses and testimonials about the work she does. So check her out and have a fantastic day. Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.